Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Monday, December 21st, 2020. Guys, the year is coming to an end very, very soon. What an awful year, in my opinion, when it comes to everything, weather-related, politics, you name it. And of course, the virus, which is sweeping the world right now as we speak. But here's for hoping for better things to come as we finish off the month of December and the year of 2020. Right now, let's take a look at our current space weather conditions. Our solar wind speeds are coming in at 468.4 kilometers per second with a density of 20.1. Now, I want to mention that we had last week, I do apologize. I really wanted to cover the links of this weather that happened last week. So much happening, so much going on. But last week, on the storm, when it hit, our solar wind speeds were at 256.6 kilometers per second. That's pretty low. At this time, on the 17th, well, it was Thursday. That was when the storm was hitting the Northeast. It started here around 7 p.m., 8 p.m., some light showers. But I'll talk about this in a little bit. But just to let you know, last week we had some really low solar wind that stuck around for a few days. And I'm believing that this is part of the reason why the GFS forecast was so far off on what was going to happen with this storm. But we'll get into that here in a minute. Right now, there are sunspots to speak of in the southeastern limb, I should say. That is AR 2794. It is sunspot number 11, and we'll talk more about that here in a minute. Cosmic radiation dosage is at 8.4%. Now, during the bottom of this minimum, this past minimum here that we're coming out of, we were sitting at cosmic radiation dose rates between 10.7 and 11.4. The record is 11.9, by the way. That's the highest recorded, and that was back in the 2009 minimum. So we got close again to hitting record cosmic radiation dosage rates in a one-day span. But at 8.4% is still rated at high, and it shows when we'll talk about what we got in store for you tonight. KPNSE coming in at 2, and the 24-hour max is at a 3. And the TCI has dropped a little bit, 6.32. TCI is our thermosphere climate index. That is the measurement of temperature at the very top of our atmosphere. And it did go down. From the last time I was looking at this, last week, December 15th, it was at 6.36. Usually that comes down when you have low solar wind as well. Now, solar wind is up a little bit, and I do want to report that we are expecting the chance for a G1 geomagnetic storm on December 23rd. When fast-moving solar wind stream will hit Earth's magnetic field. This will, if anything, give us some good images for northern lights. And that's it, guys. The G1's pretty weak. It's just an aurora show at the most. Also, AR 2794 is big, but it does not appear to pose a threat for any strong flares. And that is, again, a sign that we're dealing with solar minimum sunspots and not, we're still trying to get the uptick here to get up to the next max. Long way to go. But what 2020 is reminding me of a little bit, and 2021 could remind me of, is 2017, 2018. And we'll explain here in a minute. Let's go over to the grandsolarminimum.com, our space weather section here. And KP indices have been floating in between 1 and 3 over the past 24 hours or so. Right now, the solar proton flux is very, very minimal, if at all. And geomagnetic activity is weak at the moment as well. Taking a look at that. And then we will deal with possibly our first strong sunspot in the northern region of our star. We've had sunspots before, but this one could, and I say could, be potentially a big one here, as we're already seeing the early signs of what we're seeing here. Let's take a look, a little zoom in here. All right, so there it is in your top left screen. And let's see if I can get my arrow to work today. Yeah, let's see here. That's unfortunate. All right, so I can't pull that up. I do apologize. So let's take a look at, on our screens, the northern part of our star where you see the 30. That's an indication, a possibility that we could see some strong sunspot spots. Now, we haven't had that much action from that region. It's all been in the southern part of our star. I also want to point out two coronal holes, one that's in the far northern part of our star. Really wouldn't affect us much when it comes to Earth's magnetic field. But this one right here, that is already in swing, heading towards Earth facing as we speak. And you get a really good look at it in the motion one here. Interesting. Especially with next to a sunspot grouping. So this could be potential for seismic activity in the near future, especially for the 23rd, as that coronal hole will be Earth facing by the 23rd, if not just turning away from Earth. So we're going to keep our eyes on this coronal hole, very small at the time. If you're looking right now in the very middle here, very weak, small coronal hole action. And with the KP where it is, it's just not likely to see much in the form of seismic activity. But we are keeping our eyes on it because there is a lot in the news about it. All right, I had to adjust that real quick. And one of them is Kilauea. Aviation color code has been raised to red. Now, back in September, we reported that there were some seismic upticks that were happening out in Kilauea. And here we are in December 2020. A new eruption has started with Kilauea's Summit Caldera, Hawaii, at 7:36 UTC on December 21st, according to the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory. This has elevated Kilauea's volcano alert to warning and its aviation color to red. The situation is rapidly evolving, HVO said in a statement released at 8:41 UTC today. Civil Defense cautioned that ash fallout is likely in Wood Valley, Pahala, Ocean View, and advised residents and visitors to stay indoors to avoid exposure to the ash. Last eruption of this volcano took place in 2018 at a VEI 3. Today's ash plume was at 30,000 feet. Nothing dramatic, but that's a pretty strong eruption. And these images are just familiar, like this one right here especially. I was hoping to see some video here. It's too bad. But we are looking at lava flows once again from Kilauea, and you can't help to feel like that this is reminiscent of May of 2018. It kind of started off a little light. The thing that concerns me in this headline is that the situation is evolving rapidly. So is there a chance that there are more eruptions to come from this? Yes, I'd say so. Right now, our atmosphere, we have been bombarded by cosmic radiation, hardcore, for the past 3 years. And that builds up. And that's part of the reason why we're starting to see a lot more volcanic eruptions. Again, this reminds me of 2017, 2018. We got a lot of action from Kilauea. And you also had Etna erupting as well. Of course, we had Popocatépetl and many, many other volcano eruptions in the 2017, 2018 year. And I feel like that was just a warm-up. So keep our eyes on Kilauea, and also strong explosive eruption at Etna. This is also dated for today. Their aviation code has been raised to red. And according to the Etna Volcano Observatory, a strong intensification of strombolian activity started at Etna's southeast crater at 9:08 UTC. Weather conditions don't allow continuous observation of the current phenomenon. From a seismic perspective, the average amplitude of volcanic tremor in the southeast crater has high values. Infrasonic activity is also very sustained, with high values both in the frequency of occurrence and in the amplitude of infrasonic events. Volcanic cloud height is currently not estimatable, Etna Volcano Observatory said, and they released this at 9:34 at UTC. But they could provide that the cloud is moving towards the south. So the phenomenon is observed by visible and thermal surveillance cameras. Strombolian activity is the easternmost mouth of the southeast crater that started at the beginning of December of 2020, rapidly intensified on the evening of Sunday, December 13th, with lava fountaining and pyroclastic flows as well. Lava fountaining during the first phase lasted a few tens of minutes and ended just before 2300 UTC on December 13th, 2020, and then activity intensified around midnight UTC on December 14th. So we have seen the increase of volcanic activity with low solar activity. Now, yes, we've had sunspots to report. And that happens. We're going to get sunspots all at most times of the cycles. You get a minimum sunspots, they have certain strengths, and then you've got your maximum sunspots where they're different size, much different strength. And right now, it's just weird because I remember in 2017, we really started seeing the sunspots get weaker when they did appear. And we're kind of having those same kind of conditions on our star right now that we're having back then, and we had a lot of historic volcanic and snow events from those years. And we're only in the middle of December. Technically, today is the first day of winter. By the way, happy winter solstice. And also, I want to add that also on December 21st, this day in history, 4 years ago, Mari and I are celebrating our 4-year anniversary. So there you go. December 21st. What a great day, right? All right. But anyway, we're just now at the solstice, and we've had a couple of record-breaking storms already this year. Okay. Military deployed after record snowfall stranded more than 2,000 vehicles in Japan. Now, this is crazy. All right. You thought we had it bad here in the Northeast. This is crazy. This is also during the same time that we got pummeled by our storm here in the Northeast. Now, there is in my opinion, a correlation here. I just told you guys on December 18th, our solar wind speeds were sitting at 256 kilometers per second. By the way, on the 17th, 18th, and 19th, we were experiencing really low solar winds, okay? Even though we did have sunspots, they were weak. We had low solar wind, not a lot of activity from the sun, lots of cosmic radiation in our atmosphere because the low solar wind weakens the magnetic field. And I believe that had a lot to do with these storm predictions. What I'm about to report here that happened in Japan is shocking to me. I know we've reported a lot of big time snowstorms, but in 72 hours on December 17th, Minakami in Giuma Prefecture received around 7.1 feet of snow, while in Yuza, Niigata Prefecture saw over 5.9 feet of snow. In just 24 hours, Giuma recorded 4.2 feet of snow, and Niigata recorded 3.7 feet of snow in 24 hours. Impressive. That's closer to what we got here in the States. Less than 24 hours. Think about this, folks. We got two different storms on two different sides of the planet on around the same time. And reading off those bottom numbers, now, of course, no one got 7.1 feet of snow here in the United States from this storm. No one saw 5.9 feet of snow either. Those were 3-day snow totals. But the 24-hour totals, it started on the 17th, the 4.2 feet, the 3.7 feet, well, those are exact almost. We saw those amounts here in the United States. And the correlation across the globe, and in this situation here, we had Siberian Arctic air rushing down, and we have very warm ocean temperatures, kind of like the lake effect here, except we got an ocean effect. So this sudden blast of cold air brought in this snowstorm, basically, because of how warm the temperatures still are in this part of the ocean. I was thinking to myself when I was shoveling last week after the storm hit here in the States, talk about way to start your season right off the bat with the first storm creating this kind of havoc. So to me, a lot of this correlated due to the low solar activity, weakening the magnetic field, allowing more cosmic radiation into the atmosphere, and just in an abundance. Those 3 days, think about it, guys. I believe it was the 17th, 18th, and 19th, where we had low solar wind. So when you have low solar wind, you have a weaker magnetic field. And when you have a weaker magnetic field, you're allowing all kinds of particles to come into our atmosphere. Cosmic rays being the biggest, that's what causes 4.2 feet of snow in 24 hours. But get this, we got our snow in less than 24 hours. The reason why this storm didn't crush us here in the Northeast is because it was moving so fast. The storm was supposed to start at 7 and end by 1. Started around 7 and ended around noon, 11 o'clock, somewhere in that area. So it was pretty close. But snowfall reports. Now check these out. 44 inches in Newark Valley, New York. Ludlow, Vermont, 44 inches. Now, again, this is less than 24 hours, folks. Nearly 4 feet of snow fell in less than 18 hours. No other explanation for that, folks. Cosmic radiation in our atmosphere interact with particles, water droplets, water vapors. Think of cosmic radiation, cosmic highly charged particles. They're magnets for water droplets or water vapor. Next thing you know, boom. Big flakes, heavy flakes, or just a persistent amount of moisture that is just being dropped on us in a short period of time because there's that much cosmic radiation in the atmosphere. We are fluxed. Just because you're seeing a couple of sunspots here and there doesn't mean the sun's waking up and it's full blast. I love this article that's being tossed around about the solar cycle 25 being stronger than what everyone is predicting it. This one Lone Ranger paper here. And no disrespect to the person, the author of the paper, because there is some interesting work being done to come to that conclusion. But when you have a paper that states that they think that we're going to see somewhere between 153 and 305 in the smooth sunspot, folks, I wouldn't go run into the windows of your 18th floor apartment yelling out, "The sky is falling." I mean, that's a pretty big window, if you ask me. That's like me telling you the score of the Cowboys and Giants game is going to be somewhere between 7 and 40 points. I mean, that's likely to happen, or it's not likely to happen. It really hit or miss. So I don't really find any confidence in a prediction like that. To me, there was a 68% confidence level on the 153 sunspots. It was lower, but it was a more narrowed, windowed number. It was focused. So my conclusion from that is that the research is still being done, and he really doesn't know either. So again, I think that we saw these giant snow totals in Japan, and here in the Northeast, we got 33.8 inches of snow. And I read in a paper, a local article in our paper here, that is the most snow we've seen at this time of year since 1993. Yeah. So right before a solar minimum. And again, this reminds me of the 2017-2018 fall-winter season, honestly, with seismic activity, solar flares. Think about it. We've had solar flares. We had one in September, a weak one. Didn't we get it? Was that when the X flare hit? The weak X flare we had that was non-Earth facing? So there's so many things that line up. And that's what cycles do. And if we're going to have anything close to what we had in 2017 and 2018, buckle up. This is going to be a wild year. And I say this because we're way more fluxed now than we were back in 2017-18. So whatever we got back then, at about 15%, in my opinion, of how much stronger these events could be. When I'm talking about snow events, I'm talking about volcanoes, I'm talking about earthquakes, flooding. It doesn't matter. All of these extreme events this year might reflect and even show some comparisons from what happened in 2017, 2018. And we'll just have to see. We're already almost in January. It's crazy. So the winter is underway officially today. In a couple months, we will know. We will know what kind of year, what kind of season we've had. But I tell you, looking at the GFS, and I still have faith in the GFS, but I don't know if anybody can explain how the forecast here 2 days before the storm hit in New York, upstate New York now. This is not near Albany or anything. This is up north. We were only supposed to get 1 to 3 inches of snow. The next day, they changed it less than 24 hours before the storm hit. They changed it to a winter storm warning and said 8 to 16 inches of snow. And then as we got closer to the storm, they changed it to 15 to 25 inches of snow, with areas getting up to 30 inches. I have never seen a forecast increase its totals like that in a short period of time. A storm that big. 33.8 inches is what we received, and I can tell you this, me being an Ohio boy, never seen that kind of snow in less than 24 hours. Yeah, there might be snow. That's a normal snowfall in the area up here. Definitely normal. We see 20-inch snow events. But to fall that much snow in less than 18 hours, man, whether or not you see it on a regular basis is one thing, but it's still impressive. The snow walls where we had to shovel and snow blow, you're talking about, you've got these mini knee walls, and I mean it. They go past your knees. Insane amount of snow. Had to move it off of 2 properties. What a day. Not looking forward to another one of those, but is it possible anytime soon? Well, let's take a look at this next storm that's coming in. This is just minor stuff here throughout Tuesday. Nothing really accumulating in the Northeast. big low pressure system across the northern plains moving along the Canadian border. And this might start our next event right at Christmas Eve. Now, this is going to be a rain event. I thought this was possibly going to be some snow for my friends and family in Southwest Ohio and Kentucky. Right now, there's just too much warm air in front of this storm to be all snow. But there is hope. There's a nice little cold front behind this, and it could turn to snow briefly for you folks in southwestern and western Ohio, all the way through Kentucky, into Tennessee. Middle Tennessee could see snowflakes late night, Christmas Eve, and then into Christmas Day. That's when things on the back end of this storm, the cold air side of this, really flex the muscles. So overnight, this is another quick mover. Now, listen, if this storm wasn't moving as fast as it would, I would say most of you could look for at least 3 to 6 inches of snow out there in the Midwest, Ohio, Kentucky. But again, this is another fast-moving storm. So it's in and out by Christmas Day. It's moving into the Northeast. Again, this will start as rain, and temperatures are going to be around 49 degrees for those of you living upstate New York in the capital region. So it is going to warm up a little bit. We're going to get like a mini thaw for 2 days in the Northeast. And then look at this, right behind it. Again, fast moving. Christmas Day starts off as rain. Boom. Look at this. And we are concerned here at the Grand Solar Minimum of the possibility of a very serious icing event all along the I-87 corridor. And this is Christmas Day evening time. So there is a possibility, if it's not recommended to travel this year because of disease, it may not be recommended to travel because of possibility of what we may be getting here on Christmas Day weather-wise. If you live in New York, from Poughkeepsie all the way up to North Country, we are concerned about a serious ice situation and heavy snow to follow. I mean, look at how dark the blue is here, folks. This is a classic setup, too. We could see some thunder snow. We got that really warm, moist air clashing with this colder air that's coming from this cold front on Christmas Day. Now, the difference between with this cold air up front is that it's not going to bring as Arctic cold as what we just got here in the Northeast. We're going to see temperatures hover around between 27 and 32. So that's why we have this concern with the icing. And then that snow is going to be that heavy, packable snow. So even if it's only 6 inches to 12 inches, it's going to look like 2 feet because it's going to be these really big, fluffy flakes because of the temperatures. So white Christmas for New York, for Ohio, Kentucky, Middle Tennessee, all the way across to the east. Now, remember, this starts as rain, so don't be discouraged. Those folks I just mentioned, you'll see rain first, and then we get the snow on the back end of this. It's going to be minimal, but it'll be enough to put a nice little seasonal touch, for Christmas and all that. So it's going to look good. It's going to be pretty. But Christmas Day, my biggest concern is going to be in the Northeast. New York gets it on Christmas Day, icing up I-87. And then it moves off to the east by early evening, overnight. And notice that the heaviest snow is going to be in eastern New York because this kind of dies down. And that warmer air is basically in place long enough to just keep this all rain for you in Maine. So sorry about that. Your snow chances aren't going to be as high living in New Hampshire, moving eastward, especially into Maine. This may just be all rain and innocent flurries by Saturday. Some lake effect snow is possible for the Northeast off of Lake Ontario and Lake Erie for Erie, Pennsylvania, Buffalo, and the South Towns. Nothing major, but it could add on to what we're about to get for Christmas Day. Look out northwest out there, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, Washington, and Northern California. Some serious snow coming in your way. Of course, 'tis the season. And then really we start to see a pattern flip here where we might see a dip in the jet stream, colder air moving across the country from the northwest to the plain states, all the way dipping into the middle Tennessee and up the east coast. So some very cold air by the end of December for most of the country. And then another chance for some significant snowfall in the Northeast by December 29th. More snow expected to continue to fall across the Northwest. Just continue to expect some minor accumulations almost daily out there in the Northwest and the Rocky states. Northern Plain states, get your first decent-sized storm coming your way on December 30th, possibly New Year's Eve. I know some folks out there from Minnesota are complaining about not seeing a lot of snow so far. This might be your first big snow event, and that is coming right at the end of the year. New Year's Eve. Now, it doesn't look like it stays together very well, or at least GFS is not suggesting that at this time. But this is all the way out to January 1st. So there's a lot that can change. But we do look this far just because sometimes the GFS, and boy, I hope that thing, wow. Let's hope that thing right there off of North Carolina stays out in the Atlantic. That would be a monster nor'easter if that bad boy starts tracking further inland. And again, this is way too far out to have any accuracy, but the one thing that I've noticed about the GFS this year, and they were wrong on this last storm, but that's the first time they were that off in the entire year. So it'll be interesting to see if we start to see these big systems start rolling through. And again, that's what we saw in 17 and 18. And I also saw a report that we might start seeing colder temperatures and weather or winter-like conditions also in Europe. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at that. There's supposed to be a pattern flip out there as well here soon. We haven't looked at our friends across the pond in a while. Let's take a look. December 23rd, a lot of rain across Europe and the UK. Of course, that's usual for you guys. You're not really too disappointed. More snow for the Alps by Christmas Day. A little bit colder across Germany, parts of France. Also, some snow expected in the central part of Europe here near the Alps. More rain expected throughout Saturday, December 26th. Across the UK, getting colder, bringing some snow on the foothills possibly, and then Spain, France, and moving through Central Europe again. More snow in the Alps, looking at a very, very, very heavy snow event possible here on Monday, December 28th. Again, a mixture here. It looks like rain and snow is possible for a lot of parts of the Europe. But as we get to the end of the year, we start to see a lot more colder air and more blue on this radar map and tons of moisture. So if these temperatures dip any further than what they're already predicted to go, we could see quite a bit of snow, but nothing real crazy unless you live in the Alps right now. But we do start to see more winter-like conditions starting to fire up a little bit more. It's going to take a little bit. It's going to be still a little bit mild through Christmas. Verify that through the temperatures here. So let's back up. Where are we going? Right there. Yeah, December 20. Oh, perfect. December 21st, today. Seeing things still pretty mild across France, across the UK. And start to see some colder temperatures filter in, especially in the Alps, getting really cold across Germany, parts of the Alps, northern Italy, of course, and northern UK as well, starting to see colder temperatures overnight. And as we get into the first of the year, that's where we start to see our temperatures starting to hover closer to freezing during your daytime highs. So I see a lot more cold building up in the future cast here for Europe. So there is a pattern flip coming. Winter is on its way. It's only starting to show signs of that now, but enjoy the little bit mild weather that you have, because soon it's just going to be cold, raw, and nasty with that cold, wet rain, possibly a sleet or light snow as well. But that stuff is going to start flying here soon. No major winter weather storms to report on for Europe just yet, but that could change as well too, as we will continue to monitor this. Looking at temperatures for the United States, well, they said this was going to be a warm month. We get a little bit of truth to that here on December 24th up the East Coast, up into the Northeast. But look at that Arctic air just crashing down. Now it stays in Canada, but it does bring temperatures down cold enough to where that system will change everything to snow as it moves through. And you can see that our atmosphere is trying to warm back up, but this cold Arctic air is just keeping things afloat. Look at that. By the first of the year, still threatening to penetrate the lower 48. And look at how much colder we're getting here across the northern plains, the northwest mountain areas. we are really starting to see this cold air starting to fire up. So stay tuned, because not only are we going to be dealing with possibly a polar vortex dip here, but we could be seeing signs of stratospheric warming in the Arctic as well. And that could bring a January thaw that could cause ice jam floods. And then usually after that, the next blast of cold air is pretty brutal. And we see some pretty serious winter weather after that. So we're going to keep our eyes on this. This setup looks familiar. Again, this happened in 2017 in the Northeast. Lots of snow and cold, very cold, lots of snow. January, somewhere in the second week, we got to 60 degrees. All the rivers, all the creeks were flooding, ice jams, sewers were backing up, basements were filling up. We had police and gas companies knocking on the door telling us to get out of our houses if the water was too high because of the gas, and it was nuts. So when you get really cold weather like we're getting right now and we're seeing right now, and lots of snow and possibly more, those are the kind of problems that you could be facing when you talk about January thaws, the ice jam floods, causing all kinds of havoc, local flooding, and then some. So, all right, guys, stay tuned. We will be back hopefully tomorrow. It's been a hectic schedule for us. We are proud grandparents of puppies, so that's been fun, between shoveling over 33 inches of snow at 2 properties and maintaining puppies. They're 4 days old, going on 5 days old. Bear with us. We will try to do more reports. We missed everybody. We really hoped we were going to be able to cover that storm. Unfortunately, did not happen that way. We had a storm of our own here at the Riley House. All right, guys, have a great night, and we will talk soon. Take care.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a patron